Number 2 in our post-spring Big 12 power rankings, the BYU Cougars. Jake Retzlaff is back. LJ Martin is back at running back. But man, we got to start at the top. Kalani Sitake, what a tremendous job he did with this team last year. Obviously, they were one of the teams, down, 12 to 16 range in the Big 12 being picked. I think their over/under win total was 4.5.
5.5.
5.5. Yeah, I mean, they weren't expected to make a bowl, and he led them to a 10-2 record, 9-3, 10-2. Well, yeah,
the bowl game, yeah,
the bowl game where they absolutely obliterated Dion in Colorado. So
yeah,
they
started the season 9-0, bro.
They did, and it's a good story until it isn't, when they start getting hate on the schedule and all that stuff. But again, BYU is always going to have an old and experienced team, just with the guys doing missions out there and everything.
Yep.
And it's really no different. They went to the portal a little bit, but not much. Kind of like Arizona State, didn't really dip into the portal a lot, but got a couple of key transfers from Utah, even staying in the state. So. But BYU at number 2, man.
Yeah, with BYU, I think you just kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, they did lose some guys on the defensive line. They lost some production there. They lost the transfer receiver here in the spring portal to Miami that was one of the really good kick returners and leading returning receivers. But, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. BYU, just like Kalani Sitake and this bunch, they're just that team that has like a system. Like, they bring guys in, they keep them in their system for a while, and it's just next man up. They've got the same type of player that's a hard-nosed, physical, just a football player that they've got waiting their turn to play. But again, they do have a ton of returning production coming back. I mean, their top 2 running backs, LJ Martin and Sion Moa, are both back. Like you said, Jake Retzlaff is back. Retzlaff, though, he needs to cut down on his interceptions. He's got to cut down on his picks. He threw 12 picks last year, which is amongst the worst in the country. And in the last, I would say down the stretch, last 7 games, we talked about how BYU started 9-0, and then they lost a couple of games there at the end of the year that ended up costing them a chance to play for the Big 12 championship and cost them a college football playoff spot. I mean, there's no doubt, man, this had a lot to do with it. In the last 7 games of the year, Retzlaff threw 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in the last 7 games of the year.
Yeah.
So got to cut down on the picks, but you probably think, yeah, that's more likely he's going to be able to do that. I'm sure that's something that they're working on and concentrating on here in the offseason. But when you think of BYU and this Kalani Sitake team, you think of defense. They led the Big 12 last year in defense. They were number 1 in the Big 12 last year in points allowed per game. And they were top 20 in the country in scoring defense and total defense. They were 3rd in the country in turnovers forced, in 29 turnovers forced last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, I know they lost a little bit on that D-line. If Retzlaff can cut down on the interceptions, they're going to run the football, but it starts with defense. If BYU can even get close to replicating that defensive performance that they put out last year, they're going to be a team that's going to be sitting there competing for a chance to play in this Big 12 championship. Let me ask you this. Hey, real quick, look at the bottom of this screen and hit that subscribe button for us, please. And also follow us on Apple and Spotify. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out a ton. We greatly appreciate it. How many night games do you think these Vampires are going to get this year?
Boy, they're gonna be putting that primetime slot quite a bit. And, Big 12 after dark, those 10 o'clock ESPN starts are going to be they're going to be pretty fire if they're played out in Provo in that setting, too, that we all know that's one of the best settings in college football.
Yeah, dude, that's got to be one of the most underrated atmospheres in college football, right? Like, when you see, I remember watching that Kansas State game, and me and you both had, Kansas State was like a 6.5-point favorite on the road in Provo. Mm-hmm. We gave them out as our upset alert pick of the week. We both gave them out as best bets. I sprinkled a little on the money line for that game, and that game was nuts at night. Like, that crowd was insane. And by the way, so I'm sure if any of you folks are listening, you're like, did he just call them vampires? If you've followed along on this show, when we give out our best bets every single week during the season, Tyler here came up with a trend. I think, was it last year or the first year we did that?
I didn't come up with it. I noticed it online. There was a trend, and it's gone on for the past couple of years, but whenever BYU plays a game at night, they are darn near unstoppable. It kind of hit a speed bump in 2023, but last year, obviously, especially that game against Kansas State, that just kicked things off again.
Yeah, and it's like when the game kicks off when it actually goes dark or
Mountain time, and even if it kicks off at 5 p.m. Mountain time, and then it gets dark by the second half, it's like they turn into a different team in the second half.
they do. I started following it after that, and yeah, we started calling them the Vampires because they were dominant at night. But yeah, Kalani Sitake and the Cougs, they're going to be right there in the thick of it again in the Big 12 race, we think.